marketing shaking my stuff. I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Houston, we have a problem.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Nobody can stay that long. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
I'm my #1 fan.
And here we go.
Time once again for the Cine-Men movie podcast. Hello to all moviegoers out there. I am Johnny and I'm on here with
Edward. How's it going today?
And feels like it's been another 6 months since an episode.
Practically.
But how are you doing today?
I'm doing alright, just getting to start the transition into moving, so not too bad. How about you?
Not bad. Moving sucks.
It does, but sometimes it's a necessity. So.
But we're here. We're moving on up here in the Cine-Men movie podcast.
I thought you were about to say to the east side.
No.
Oh, okay.
To me, that would be considered moving down in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Sorry to all you east side goers out there, but it smells funny over on that side of town.
Water sucks. It really does, honestly. The water's kind of horrible on the east side. Whoa.
But man, today is a special episode. It is 1989 was one of those years where movies were transitioning into big, huge, box office budget kind of movies. And 1989 brought us one of the biggest superhero movies of up to that time. And we're talking about Tim Burton's 1989 Batman.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the biggest big box office hits, because literally Batman in 1989, domestically, no one outsold it. The only one to outsell it worldwide was Indiana Jones. That's it.
And not to mention, it took...
I mean, that was crazy.
It's pretty much a 10-year in the making film, because they started the foundation for this movie in 1980.
Yeah.
1981.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it took a while to get, Keaton and Jack Nicholson and, everybody on, as even Tim Burton for that matter, and everybody thought it was just a weird decision for Burton, Nicholson. Well, not Nicholson. I think Nicholson was the only one that made sense to a lot of people. But even for God's sakes, Bob Kane wasn't sure about Michael Keaton and Tim Burton until he kind of got to know Tim Burton a little bit, and then he kind of was comfortable with handing him the reins. And going from there, which I think Jack Nicholson was about the main thing that really hooked a lot of people on, because I think up to that point, Keaton was doing mostly comedies. I think, maybe a few rom-coms, but mainly comedies.
But man, sometimes you got that sexual, sensual feeling in the background.
Yeah.
You got Prince just singing, and
I mean, Vicky Vale though. Oof.
If Prince can't get your lady in the mood, maybe it's time for some Blue Chew. And I'm talking about the FDA-approved Blue Magical Chew. It gets in the bloodstream faster. It gets you pumped. It gets you ready. Be ready anytime, any place, anywhere. FDA-approved. Man, you can take it. You can take it with a meal. You can take it now and be ready just in time.
Take it later, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean,
take it in the shower. It's cool.
If you need to go and you know it's about time, take it. It takes minutes to get in your bloodstream. Don't forget that Blue Chew is the official FDA-approved enhancement for the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
There you go.
But man, we're getting into today's episode, and man, it's Martin Luther King week.
Yeah.
Had a good Martin Luther King day. A look back at last week's episode was Star Wars and what's in store for us heading into 2019.
Man, I've got to say, Star Wars is one of those film franchises, kind of like the Harry Potter to me. I really love it. I mean, I'm not as intertwined with Star Wars because there's a lot of stuff out there with Star Wars. I mean, a ton of stuff. So it's really hard to be extremely intertwined with that compared to like Harry Potter, where there's a lot, but there's... well, I've been intertwined with that since I was 10, so... But, yeah, it's just one of those big... You can't go anywhere without someone knowing about Darth Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Yoda.
I mean,
everybody knows.
Last week's episode was very high praised. I got a lot of positive feedback. I got a lot of awesome messages, phone calls, a lot of call-ins this week. Had a few text messages that I didn't know from.
Oh, there you go.
So this first full episode last week of the year was Star Wars: A New Hope. Go back into the archives, check it out. You can find us on Spotify.
So in other words, it was going down in your DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube. We found out last week we're on Google Cast. So
Chuck, gotta say, it's really cool that we're getting different bases to go off of.
Anytime you need to find us, you can always find us on Facebook at the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. It's facebook.com at movie REELZ 405. We have 5 out of 5 recommendations. Give us those star ratings. Give us the thumbs up. Invite your friends. You can check out all the archives at Spotify. Spotify is really where it's at for us right now.
Yeah, I mean, Spotify and then Podbean are our two kind of biggest platforms right now, just because Podbean helps us do a lot. A lot. I mean, honestly, we can't be more thankful enough to those guys who set it up and deliver that kind of a app to use. And then, yeah, Spotify, it's definitely been helping us get out there quite a bit, for that matter. So definitely a big shout out to those two. We're not as big on YouTube, but I think kind of
at first we had a lot of hits on YouTube, and then we got into the Spotify gimmick, and it shot us. Yeah, it shot us up into the. We went from nobodies to maybe somebodies.
Well, at least unknown somebodies. Yeah. I mean, nobody's seen our beautiful faces yet.
But it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad week. I had a lot of recent watches. What about you?
Yeah, I had a few.
Get to check anything you found out?
Yeah. Not anything extremely new, but a few different movies I kind of went to the local movie store and bought, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Awesome movie. So, I mean, there's that. You dick! Freaking Spicoli. My dad loves that movie. Got Batman, got this one on my own to go ahead and watch it a couple times. So there was definitely that. Rewatched the Hunger Games a little bit here and there. So, I mean, there's been Clerks 2. I was searching for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Couldn't find it. Although I've heard some good news. Kevin Smith and Jason Yules, I don't know if that's properly pronounced right there, have announced that they are going to reprise another Jay and Silent Bob movie. I think that would be amazing. It's been too long.
Are they going to be Jay and Silent Bob?
Yes, it's going to be the legit Jay and Silent Bob. I mean,
as long as it's funny and as long as it has that originality from the 90s, I mean, sure, you're going to have to update some stuff.
Right.
But as long as they don't do... I mean, it's so hard to do a comedy like that today without trying to offend somebody. Well, I mean, we'll touch on that in movie news a little bit later.
To me, I think that's kind of where Deadpool has picked up a little bit in comedy-wise, because it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, don't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, I can see that. The first one was very original. Yeah, and the first one was amazing. But to me, the second one was just like, you say one or two F words, and it's I mean, it's kind of to where maybe now that Disney has it, maybe they can put their own twist on it, and maybe it'll be a little bit more original.
I hope so, but yeah, I mean, with Jay and Silent Bob, you kind of can't. tone them down, I guess you could say. Because if you do, you cut a lot, especially Jason Hughes with Jay. My God, that guy just needs to go nuts. I mean, you can't hold him back. You know, you've got to have those 2 or 3 iconic lines in there with Kevin Smith for Silent Bob.
So with Clerks, did you rewatch Clerks 1 and 2?
I've got Clerks, the 10-year anniversary actually edition of it, and then Clerks 2. I watched Clerks about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and then I watched Clerks 2
we
about
talked
3
about
days
it
ago.
on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
I think it was the
episodes ago.
Sleepwalker episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Which is in the archives if you want to go check us out at YouTube,
Should be episode 17.
Spotify, and Podbean.
So,
man, any other recent watches lately, or
those were the ones I've gotten in the past couple days. So this episode basically.
Past couple of days, I don't know if I talked about it on the last episode, but I finally watched The House with a Clock in Its Walls.
Yeah,
It was pretty entertaining.
I thought it was a nice kids film. Definitely.
Yeah,
a little dark.
It was dark. I would say it was a good family movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something that
If
Jack
you let,
Black's
but
stupid
if you let your kids watch Harry Potter,
then
this
especially 3 and
right
after.
So,
yeah.
I checked out probably one of the greatest Batman movies of all time, and that's Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Dark Knight.
I rewatched it last week, and man, it's been a good probably 10 years since I've seen it, and it's so good.
There you go.
It's probably one of the best animated. Until I go see Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, it's probably one of the best animated superhero movies I've ever seen.
Oh, damn. Okay. So not even just Batman animated, all.
And then I checked out again the new Halloween came out.
Yeah.
I rewatched that. That was, man, it was so good in theaters. I had a hard time keeping up with it this time around.
Really?
Like, the first time was amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we were in a theater and I had nothing else to concentrate on.
Right.
But this past time, I had mom over and the kid was going at it, so maybe I couldn't really get into it.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time getting into it this last time.
Well, I mean, you kind of knew what that pertained to, going over and all that. You knew where all the kills were, how they happened. So.
And then, we're just a few months away from.
Oh man.
Endgame.
Can't wait.
A few weeks away from Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So I started my Marvel series. I recently finished Iron Man, the Hulk, Iron Man 2, and Thor.
Oh yeah.
So I'm already almost done with Phase 1. All I have left is Captain America and the Avengers.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, honestly, I love how
which it's up to you.
Phases.
But in
awesome.
2 weeks, I would love to do the Avengers as an episode.
Is that a question, or
the original Avengers?
Like, does it have to be a question?
The original Avengers, like that'll be episode 1 leading into Endgame.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's kind of funny to know what we know now and what they've presented now with all these story backlines and all that. To go back to Captain America, First Avenger, and Iron Man 1 and Avengers 1 and all that, and know the different spins that will happen. And know what happened back then and what was being put in motion by characters way in the background that were not even thought of. Well, thought about definitely, but were not even put forth into the public eye just yet.
Well,
it's hilarious.
It's crazy. So, I mean, we kind of let it slip there a little bit. I think in next week we will do Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yeah.
So after that, we'll either do Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse if we can catch time to go see it.
Yeah.
Or I think we'll do the Avengers.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I've heard nothing but greatness about it.
And actually what we can do say we're going to try to go see it Monday.
Yeah.
So as you listen to this, it is Thursday night, January the 24th. So as you listen to this, we're going to try to go see it Monday night.
Yeah.
Our next episode that we record is Monday night.
Yeah.
So either Monday night's episode is going to be Spider-Man or the Bad Times at the El Royale.
Which, I mean, honestly, either one's a great pick because Bad Times at the El Royale, I've heard good things about.
Man, it's so good.
I mean, I was about to say, you practically were just praising it highly, and then on top of that, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I've heard, is probably the best Spider-Man ever.
And then, either way, I mean, after that episode, after the next episode, the episode after that will be the Avengers, the first one.
Yeah.
So
I'm
ready for
looking forward to
Endgame.
all that because I kind of love the Marvel universe and how they've put it together. They've really hit a good spot, you know. And I mean, DC's finding their foothold now because I mean,
oh, and we're about to talk. We're going to talk
Just
nothing but
crazy
DC
stuff.
in this episode.
yeah,
We'll talk Batman. We'll talk DC. But for right now, we're gonna catch a little water break. All right, man. So we got recent watches out of the way, but right now, we played on it before during the fall, and it wasn't.
I mean, I know I'm not that good at the piano, but you don't have to bring it up like that. Come on, now. Now, one thing that I've been kind of having my ear to the pavement on, if you will take the pun lightly, is Chapter 2 It.
Okay.
Oh man, because Chapter 1 or It, the new one, the Andy Machete one, really caught my interest. And I mean, the old school one, you know, you've got some good actors, and it was cheesy, 100%. It was cheesy, but you know, future, you know, I mean, Seth Green, who the hell knew him back then, really, you know, but. With this new one, you've got Bill Skarsgård, you know, you have all the kids, and now you've got a big name cast. I mean, you know, you've got James McAvoy, who just was in Glass, out now in theaters.
Which I mean, I was going to touch on Glass in movie news.
Yeah,
but
well, I mean, I'm not anything against that yet. I'm just saying it's out there. You know, he's in it, so you know, he's not afraid of going to a dark side of a movie at all, because I mean, everybody who's seen Split knows that he had some different side. He had a hard job to portray a person who had 26 personalities, or 25 and then the 26th, and then, you know, to portray what's called the Beast, as you know, in Split, if you've seen that movie. Now he gets to reprise his role in Glass, and so does Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. So, you know, for them to come together with that, you know, I figured James McAvoy probably has a little sternness, you know, a good sense of himself on.
I mean,
set.
and that movie, the It from 2016.
Yeah, 16.
Man, it was so innovative and so different, and brought a whole new horror twist on original classic. September can't get here fast enough, because I think that might be the movie that we start off the next horror season with.
That would be. I would love that.
And we'll do that
honestly.
in theaters. So, but I have a new segment, and we're going to try it out today. We had a whole show about it in the fall. If you like sports, if you like entertainment, if you like football, if you like wrestling, this is the new segment that we like to call "What's Going On." And man, we just finished up one hell of a conference championship week in the NFL.
Both games went into overtime. Not just one, but both.
We have the NBA is smack dab in the middle of its phenomenal season. Paul George looks like he's taken over the Oklahoma City Thunder right now.
Basically,
he's marking his territory for MVP race.
I mean, I think he's getting 30+ points every game right now.
The NFL has Pro Bowl weekend, which is their All-Star weekend coming up. The Super Bowl is in 1 week. We're going to touch on conference championships.
Tons of different
speaking
transfers
of Speaking of All-Star games, the WWE has the Royal Rumble coming up Sunday,
Yep.
Which leads them on their road to WrestleMania. We'll start with the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
The Rams and the Saints. Saints were up 1 point, 13 points in the game, blew the lead. Rams win in overtime, 26-23.
Which, I mean, a lot of people are blaming it on that, the failed pass interference call. Don't get me wrong, I was pulling for the Saints. I'm kind of a Drew Brees fan. I like the guy. I think he's got great heart, and he's a big character and a big guy.
Right. I mean, I posted about it this past week. I tweeted about it, and it was on Facebook. Like, man, I feel for Drew Brees. I really do.
Yeah,
definitely. I feel bad for him, but you cannot give up a 13-point lead and then blame the refs on a pass interference call.
Well, my thing
the pass interference call was terrible, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But you shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with.
Well, not only that, but in the next play, they had the ball.
Exactly.
It's not like it was an interception or anything like that. With the guy drop kicking the other guy and intercepting it. It wasn't like that. But, I mean, I do think the call should have gotten called, definitely.
Right. It is what it is, but the Saints, I'm sorry, you lost. You're staying at home. You're not going to the Super Bowl.
Plus, I mean, they are still a very strong team. I mean, they didn't get there for nothing.
When we tried the Tuesday Morning Audible, which there's 2 episodes, you can check that out on Spotify as well. When we did that first episode, everybody was praising the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I said it. I've said it from day one. I don't trust the Chiefs in January.
Yeah.
I don't trust them. And looking back at it now, yeah, they went into overtime.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs choked in the first half.
I mean, a lot of people think that if they went into you do than I do, then a lot of people think that Patrick Mahomes would have came back and actually gotten the ball back, gotten down with the field and all that. But unfortunately, in the NFL, it is a one and done. Whoever scores first gets the game. I mean, that's the way it is, and whether he's a rookie, whether he's a sophomore like he is, or whatever.
Don't get me wrong. They had a phenomenal year.
Oh yeah,
he threw 50 touchdown passes. They win 13 games. He had a great year.
Honestly, I actually just got some news from NFL.com saying, asking the question: is Patrick Mahomes a $200 million man? So, I mean, that puts up a huge question. Are they going to get a huge contract for the guy?
He'll be the first one with the contract up by 2021, I think, or 2022.
Right.
He could be the first $200 million quarterback.
Possibly, if he has seasons like this every season.
It's not... I mean, he could have a mediocre season next year and then a decent third year.
Oh, yeah.
He's still going to get the contract.
Oh, yeah. Well, decent third year and mediocre third.
Everybody's acting like, oh, my God, it's $200 million. Baseball has been giving out $200, $300 million contracts for years.
Yeah.
In the NFL, I'm sorry, but the time just evolves every year. Every year, the contracts get bigger.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, I think what...
Is he going to get the money? He's going to get the money.
Back in the day?
He's going to get the money.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what? You can give him all the money in the world, but if you can't win in January...
Well, I mean, if he and his cohorts lose their composure during the game and kind of... I mean, with Drew Brees and them, they should have kept the gas on. I mean, they're a good team, damn good team. Drew Brees is a great leader, and he knows as well as Sean Payton knows you can't stall. I mean, with a team like Jared Goff might be a young guy. Todd Gurley might be kind of a few years in, but you can't let off the gas. It's like Tom Brady. You cannot just coast. That guy is a fourth quarter comeback king. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong.
He did what he did, and now we got the Super Bowl in next week. You have the New England Patriots and the Los Angeles Rams. Right now, the Patriots are 2-point favorites. We're not going to do
usual.
We're not going to do predictions. We'll do predictions on Monday's episode.
Yeah.
That'll be the last episode going into the Super Bowl.
Yep.
We'll also have some Rumble talk and some. Talk about the bad times at the El Royale.
Yep.
Speaking of Royale, Sunday is the Royal Rumble.
I thought you were about to talk about Fortnite.
I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm the big wrestling fan on the show, and always wanted to do a wrestling podcast, but I'm like, everybody's doing one of those, so I am now doing the movie podcast. But we'll touch on it. ever since I can remember when we would watch wrestling,
Yeah.
one of the biggest shows, or always one of the funnest shows we'd watch, would be the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
30 men, one match. Every 2 minutes, somebody comes out, gets tossed over the rope.
Yep.
Anything can happen in these matches.
Oh,
we
definitely.
love
With
we love the Attitude Era.
Man.
All these surprises every year now. They send 1 or 2 surprises into the Royal
Yep.
Rumble. I'm definitely checking it out Sunday. I know you might maybe be here for a little bit of it, but the big match, man, Sunday: Brock Lesnar, Finn Balor for the Universal Championship.
Truthfully, I'm scared for Finn Balor, man. I mean, Brock Lesnar is a monster for a reason. Has been since, what, 03, 04?
Man, a lot of people don't like the way he has his contract, where he only has to work 4, 5, 8 days a week, or 8 days a year. But I'm like, if you have an agent, and if you're that kind
high
of
profile of a superstar
Yeah,
for
fuck
WWE, then, I mean, don't get me wrong, you're
you
going
can't blame the
between-
guy.
He's going between WWE and I think UFC still here and there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he's that high profile and if Vince is wanting to work his contract that way, it's nobody else's question. His agent, Vince, and everybody else. That's it. Sorry. I mean, you know, it is kind of unfair that, you know, I mean, like what Roman Reigns said, you know, he was a working champion, but unfortunately with Roman Reigns' unfortunate battle with leukemia.
Man, that's bad. I recently heard though that he's in Hawaii on vacation, so he's got. I mean,
Good,
I feel like, you know, if
relaxing
you can,
time
right?
to-
If you can, you know, maybe do a plane ride, maybe that means things are going
Right, because
good
I mean,
for you.
it takes a little bit on the body sometimes, especially when you're down and not out, but down and under the weather like that. But I mean, for him to be in that, you know, place, I think that's probably home or where some family of his is. I think I've heard, but
right. I mean,
that's the best place you can be.
Rumble this Sunday. We'll talk more about it on Monday, but that is a new segment that we will touch a little bit bases on every week. Talk about some football, some sports, maybe some wrestling, and coming up next we have movie news.
Yes, sir.
Man, so the Oscar nominees came out this week.
Yeah, they did. They did.
They look just like the Golden Globe nominations.
Probably
They,
usual.
Yeah, which is normal, and it's fine with me.
'Cause, I mean, you know, you can't really truly go away from the what movies are big. I'm sorry, but they are. You know, probably a lot of A1.
Speaking of big movies, man, I'll run down the 2019 Academy Award nominees for Best Picture. You have Black Panther.
Yeah, of
Which
course.
I was
mean,
surprised.
honestly.
I was surprised. Black Klansman, which I've talked about on the show.
Yeah,
Bohemian Rhapsody,
not surprised at all.
which
with
is
that.
a lot of people's favorite to win.
Yeah,
And then you have The Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born,
oh, okay.
Vice, and The Favorite.
But is the favorite to win? No, I'm just kidding.
So I hear a lot of good things about Bohemian Rhapsody. The only one I've seen out of all these is Black Panther and
Right.
Black Klansman.
Right.
I hear Vice is really good. I really want to see that. That's with Christian Bale, where he's the Vice President, Dick Cheney. We all know about A Star is Born, Lady
Right.
Gaga, and Bradley Cooper, directed by Bradley Cooper.
I wonder if he brought out the voice that he uses for Rock, the Reckoning. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
What do you think about that list right there? What does that list say to you?
I mean, it kind of, I think it's a good thing because it gets the superhero movie genre in there. And I think that's a nice turn of events because, you know, it's kind of like a horror film. Horror films don't get really introduced into those categories unless it's best horror picture or something like that. You know, so I think it's a good thing for superhero movies to kind of, or even comic book movies as you would put it more in a technical term. It introduces new faces, new possibilities other than the masterpiece film.
When you said new, it brings new eyes onto the Academy Awards.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people who watch the Academy Awards number has been turned in that the average age is 27 to 60.
Okay.
With Black Panther being nominated, there brings a lot of 18, 17,
20,
a lot of
25,
young
somewhere under
viewers
there,
to the Oscars.
Yeah.
Maybe they watch it, maybe they don't.
Right.
I don't
don't
fucking
know.
care. You know what I mean?
Well, you know.
But
I'm sure the studio networks care just because the
Fuck 'em.
ratings, you know. But I mean, yeah, definitely for a picture like, you know, Chad Bosewick and Michael B. Jordan and all of them to be in, it sends a very positive message out there that it's not just the hoity-toity, you know, upper elite
Right.
Hollywood people
Yep.
that get in.
That's true.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, Michael B. Jordan and Chad Bosewick basically are in that upper echelon category now.
yeah,
You know, because they've done some big films. They really have. I mean, Michael B. Jordan all the way back to Hardball, I think.
he was in
You
Creed, Creed 2.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a few pictures that he's been in that I think are
Fruitvale
damn
Station.
good. Yeah.
If you have you seen that movie?
I have not
If
seen
you
that one.
are a Michael B. Jordan fan and you want to see acting at its finest, check out Fruitvale Station.
Actually, yeah, that's we did a few episodes ago. Fences. I've been talking
Yep.
to a few people about that, and I mean that one blew me out of the blew my mind, blew me out of the water, basically, of how raw and powerful and emotional that one really was. So I mean, for movies to get out there that are, which I mean, that one is kind of more a usual one because it's the dramatic aspect, the heartfelt aspect. But for a comic book movie like this, yes, there's a lot of heartfelt and a dramatic feel to it, but it brings up a new possibility for stages, you know, to where a picture like maybe even Aquaman, I haven't seen it yet, but a picture like Aquaman or even, I don't know, Thor 4 or whatever, you know, if they're up to
Aquaman's.
that
So let's talk about Aquaman for a little bit as we're talking about DC movies today.
Yeah.
Made $1 billion.
Oof.
Highest grossing DC film of
Wish
all
I
time.
could say that.
Highest grossing
Yeah.
DC film of all time. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
To think that Aquaman, which was one of the more made fun of characters in the DC
Oh my
universe.
But you got to consider the guy playing
Well,
Aquaman.
that's true.
Would you want to go up to Jason? I mean, he seems like a very sweet guy, very kind guy.
Right.
When, you know,
I
you go
didn't.
to
I mean,
his
I didn't know
reality.
Roman Reigns had a twin.
I'm just a bigger twin for that matter. He's bigger than Roman Reigns. Like, I think he's a couple inches taller. Like, dude, the guy's ridiculous. But I mean, you know, I wouldn't want to make fun of the guy. I mean, if you see him as Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones in the first few seasons, oh my
He also
god!
plays Conan the Barbarian.
Another reason
in the 2011 film Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah,
Good movie.
Another reason not to make fun of the guy.
Pretty hardcore.
He just looks like someone in a bar that would beat your ass. But I mean, more than likely, he'd probably just make fun of you and then like joke. Seems like a cool guy.
As we're talking today, news broke that Jeff Bridges is probably reprising his role as the dude
Oh,
in the Big Lebowski sequel in a mysterious teaser that leaked literally about 2 hours ago.
That's nuts. Damn, okay.
And then speaking of leaks that broke, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
There's a picture out there now with Bill Murray already in full uniform. The teaser trailer dropped last week. But we will touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
I gotta watch what we say. But the female cast of the Ghostbusters 2016 movie, they tweeted about it, said that it was disrespectful.
Didn't seem excited about it.
They don't seem excited about it. They seem like it's a very Trump-esque thing to do.
Honestly,
To push the female side version aside and say, oh, you know, let's, you know, that one wasn't very good. Let's push them aside. Just come back with the all-male cast.
I think they should kind of put it together and see what kind of chemistry and what kind of chemical greatness they could do. Because I mean, honestly, kind of a passing of the torch. You know, like a stamp of approval from Bill Murray and all of them, all of the original members of the original.
Well, they're going to do that, but they're going to
Ghostbusters,
do that
you know.
in this new one. It's supposed to be some teenage Ghostbusters that they're going to pass the.
Right. Which I mean, I can kind of understand that.
You know what though? I don't think Dan Aykroyd and the director of this new one did it on purpose, but I think the female cast version left such a bad taste in the Ghostbusters franchise. It didn't make any money. It got crapped on all over the place, and I think they did not want to leave the franchise like that.
Right. I mean, it might have been a case of just trying too hard. I personally, I didn't mind it. I found it kind of funny, honestly. I don't know why, but I don't really like Melissa McCarthy. I don't know why, but I just don't. I think she's got some good chops. She's got good comedy chops. I don't know. I just don't like her for some. I don't know.
And then the female-fronted Fast and the Furious spinoff now has writers, and
now if Letty doesn't get in,
that's
as
what
the
I
lead
was about
role,
to lead. That's what
you bastards better go back.
Everybody wants Letty to be the star, and they want Michelle Rodriguez to be in the film.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think when you think of Fast and Furious,
especially female edition.
No, well, I'm just saying so they want Michelle Rodriguez to star in this. I think an all-female cast of the Fast and Furious would be wildly entertaining, depending on who they put with Michelle Rodriguez.
Truthfully, I mean, I definitely agree with that. But the thing is what the Fast and the Furious franchise messed up on, I think, was either 3 or 4 when they gone to the secret rogue agent crap.
Where they killed her off?
Well, that too, yes. But where they gone to way over the top, we're going to put a freaking submarine in the 7th or 8th one, I think, and do all this crap. No. Go back to 3 was Tokyo Drift. Go back to 1 and 2, where you could actually... Guys want to see, or not even just guys, but every person that is a car enthusiast wants to see something that they can actually freaking do. I want to get my damn old school El Camino or old school Chevy Nova 2 or something like that. Build a badass 454 big block for it. Big old cam, big heads and all that. Put an LSX motor in it or something, whatever, and haul ass. And I want to see something that, yes, I could do, but I don't have the money for it, because don't get me wrong, that Supra they did in 2001 probably took over $17,000 to do just the engine, let alone everything else. Because a 2JZ is a damn good engine, but it takes a lot of crap to get it going.
I mean, they're kind of doing a all-male cast Fast and Furious spinoff with Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson, yeah.
He's gotten pretty huge for this role. He's eating like a whole sushi bar a day.
I mean, Jason Statham doesn't have to. Just keep himself in shape and kick some ass. He don't care.
So I feel like if they do that for them, they should at least give Michelle Rodriguez a piece of the pie, because females now, as far as the box office goes, they have shown that they can bring in a tremendous amount of money.
It's a hot ticket.
Just by themselves. Wonder Woman brought in a lot of money. Captain Marvel is probably going to explode.
Another freaking Fast and the Furious Wonder Woman alumni. I mean, so Gal Gadot, one of the two, I don't exactly know.
English.
Yeah, I know, right? But she was through 5, 6, and 7. She played a decent role in there, and I mean, she had her own chops.
Do you think Captain Marvel is gonna not do so well, considering that Endgame comes out literally 4 weeks later?
No, honestly, I think Captain Marvel is kind of the not really appetizer.
Because I mean, if people can understand that you may not need to see Captain Marvel to get to the Endgame, maybe Captain Marvel doesn't bring in a lot of money as they think it will.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the same thing with
because, I mean, Captain Marvel's March.
Yeah.
And Endgame is at the end of April. Why not just put Endgame in the first week of June? Because let Captain Marvel let her have her time at the box office, and let her get all the money she can, because in 4 weeks, man, nobody's going to be going to see Captain Marvel.
Well, true, but I mean, they're going to get that 1-2 punch, because they're going to have everybody going to Captain Marvel for those first 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks.
But if you're the average, right? But if you're the average American who goes and sees probably one movie every other month,
right?
Say you only have enough to go see one movie, are you going to save and go see Endgame, or are you going to go see Captain Marvel?
I mean, if they're both in theaters and you only have to pick one, I mean, honestly,
they're going to go see Endgame.
Just because it's not just one character, an introduction movie, it's everybody. But I mean, don't get me wrong. When I was working at I was working at a theater, there was one guy that came in and seen, I forget exactly what movie, but it was a Marvel movie.
But you
17 Guardians of the Galaxy 1 17 times.
But you kind of got to look at what theater you were at.
True,
you were in more. Yeah. You were kind of in one of the more nicer parts of the state.
Yeah.
And people in that general area can afford to go to the movies every weekend.
True.
To where if you take the numbers from a Bricktown, or if you take the numbers from an AMC, there's people there that only go to a movie every month, every other month.
Well, I mean, that's like me. The last movie I went to see was Harry Potter. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2, Crimes of Grindelwald, and then before that was
Crimes
Halloween.
of Stole Your Damn Money, because I heard that movie bombed at the box office.
Maybe it bombed at the box office, but if you actually understand what Harry Potter... Okay, with that, everybody was freaking out about Nagini, and for all you people that know the Wizarding world, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But I'm sorry, shit your bridges or not, it's whatever. J.K. Rowling's the master of that, so let her do her thing. Shut the fuck up and let her do her stuff. Just like E.L. James is coming out with another half-price fucking sex book, with, you know, as in another 50 Shades of Grey. I think it's something about... something Mister. I heard something about it, but it was something
now,
Mister.
Hey, those are some pretty...
Yeah, trust me, I worked at that theater
pretty good,
when it was coming, when
thrillers.
The first two were out.
Those are some thrillers.
Trust me, I had a lot of interesting
keep me on the edge of my seat.
I bet. But, you know, that's one thing that kind of ticks me off. When people get too touchy on different characters just because it's not what you expect, you're not the writer. Well, write your own thing then. Go and get your story. Go and fulfill your dreams of being a writer. Guarantee you can. Most of you, 90%, can't, just because you don't have the thoughts to do it. Simple. It's not that hard to imagine.
I mean, if
enjoy the movie or don't. Who cares?
If some random New York guy can write a screenplay about two fuck-ups working at a convenience store, and he can only film it in black and white and make millions of dollars off of it.
But 37 times. 37 dicks. Okay? 37.
You see Zac Efron is lead to play the Green Lantern in the DC movies.
Oh, God.
So...
well, let's go again. You know, just a younger Ryan Reynolds with half the sarcasm.
I think he can do it. I think he'd be fine at it. Green Lantern, I mean, I thought he would get his own movie before Shazam again. But,
right.
I mean, I'm interested in seeing Shazam. There's rumors that The Rock is Black Adam at the end of Shazam.
We'll see. I mean, he definitely fills the suit more than the one guy does, so there's that. But,
and then, you know, we started the year off with Star Wars.
Yeah.
All this year is going to be about Star Wars. Mark
just
Hamill,
like an Eiffel Tower.
Mark Hamill congratulated Adam Driver on his Oscar nomination for Black Klansman.
Oh, there you go.
Adam Driver is nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Black Klansman this
Which,
year.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's just like, you know, Star Wars to get noted in the Golden Globes or, you know, all that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, with Star Wars, George Lucas actually had to drop out of the Actors Guild to get the screen crawl for himself for Star Wars. He literally dropped that shit like a bad habit because they weren't happy about that. They were pissed. And he wanted to make it 4 times longer than what it was.
Yeah.
So
there's a little bit of the movie news for you this week. Coming up, we will discuss our top 5 DC movies.
Yes, sir.
We are back here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And we are getting into our top 5 DC movies. Every week we have a segment called Top 5. It could have something to do with the movie. It could have something not to do with the movie. But this week we're going to do top 5 DC movies.
Now, is that including all live action and
live
animated?
action, animation, whatever you've seen that says DC on it, that's what we're putting into it.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I mean, I have an honorable mention.
Okay.
I know it's not one of the favorite DC movies, but my honorable mention is going to be Suicide Squad from 2016.
Oh man, honestly, I like the Suicide Squad. I'm happy they're doing a second one. I think as long as they do it right, I think it'll be good.
They're also doing a Birds of Prey movie with
Okay.
Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Which will be a little interesting to kind of be.
Ewan
on her
McGregor
own.
is in that movie as well.
Really?
So
that'd be cool.
Definitely going to be a pretty good watch. But that's my honorable mention. So, do you have an honorable mention, or do you just want to go to your number 5?
I'm just gonna go into number 5. Honestly, Batman Returns. I liked it. Catwoman was amazing. You know, the different suit for Batman was really cool. I thought it was a really cool kind of update because it was released in '92, was it not?
'92.
Bringing in, I think they brought in what? Penguin, the Riddler, Two-Face, Catwoman.
Two-Face wasn't in Batman Returns.
That wasn't okay. That wasn't.
It was just the Penguin and Catwoman, and then Max Schreck was in it.
Yeah, that's
played
right.
by Christopher Walken.
Right.
So
Okay.
you had Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito.
Yeah, and like you said, Christopher Walken as well as Michael Keaton, basically reprising his role 3 years later. So I thought that one was a pretty good one because it really gone into some of the character origins for a character like Penguin, you know, and I thought that was really cool to get that heartfelt moment for a villain. But you still didn't like him. I mean, honestly, you still felt like Danny DeVito's character was a piece of shit,
right?
All that, but you felt bad because he gone through a lot, and you could
I mean, at the beginning they gave him a little bit of a sympathetic role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I really thought that was a good one. Michael Keaton isn't my own personal favorite Batman, but I think he'd be number 2 probably for me, number 2. But that's just my opinion. Simple as that.
I have some thoughts on the different Batmans, and we'll do a little variation of them because we were going to do top 5 Batman films.
Yeah.
And then we were going to do maybe top 5 Tim Burton films.
Yeah.
Because this really felt like a Tim Burton movie. You could tell that Tim Burton directed
he left
this
his signature
picture
on it.
My number 5 is going to be The Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully, to me, this should be number 4, but I'm not. My top 5 wasn't going to consist of 4 straight Batman movies.
Mm-hmm.
But my number 5 is going to be The Dark Knight Rises. 8 years after the Joker's reign in The Dark Knight, Christian Bale reprises his role as Bruce Wayne, Tom Hardy as Bane, Anne Hathaway as Selina, Catwoman, and then Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in it as well as Blake, which some people have their thoughts and theories that he is Batman Beyond, or the Nightwing in the end of this movie.
Which honestly,
because he finds the cave at the end of the movie.
Well, not only that, but I think
he uses the Robin name as well.
Yes, that was the biggest kind of nod, if you will.
But to me, this was a really good movie, not just a superhero movie. It's just a good fucking movie.
Yeah.
But that's my number 5 is The Dark Knight Rises from 2012, and your number 4.
Number 4 would have to be. I'm going to go ahead and go with probably Man of Steel. I thought it was a good reprisal of Superman, in my personal opinion. It just was a nice new taking, I guess you'd say, of it. So
yeah, I mean, I'll talk to you about it as well because that was my number 4.
Oh,
is Man of Steel, and that's where you see the first glance of Henry Cavill as Clark Kent, Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Michael Shannon. God damn, I love Michael Shannon as he plays General Zod. And then you have Diane Lane and Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe played Jor-El. Directed by Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder definitely put his finishing touches on Superman.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Zack Snyder finish the DC movies the way he wanted. Zack Snyder came off of Watchmen.
Yeah.
Watchmen was phenomenal. He made so much money with Warner Brothers, and when he did Watchmen, he also did 300. So, man, he was a hot-ass director.
Yeah.
So when they were like, hey, we want to revamp the DC, we want to have the Justice League, why not have Zack Snyder do it?
Yeah.
And to me, man, Superman gets a bad rap. Man of Steel gets a bad rap. But to me, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the hell out of Man of Steel.
Yeah, it definitely was a nice, like you said, a nice revisit.
But what I like about it is it had emotion.
Yeah.
And you can see that at the end of the movie, he had no choice. I mean, they say these superheroes don't kill, but Superman had no choice at the end of the movie. He snapped General Zod's neck, killed him right there in his hands. And you could see, after he did that, Superman screamed out in anger and pain because he had to kill somebody.
Yep, and I mean, because he's supposed to be the light of justice, the you know,
he's the all-American superhero,
right? And
I mean,
a lot of DC characters don't like to kill. I mean, you know, Batman usually has his no-killing policy, no matter what.
Right. So,
which has been,
I mean, for
unfortunately
people to sit there and say that, you know, this movie was too dark, and I mean, yeah, it was dark, but man, it showed passion and it showed light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But that's my number 4. We agreed on that.
Yeah.
What would you go into yours number 3?
Number 3, personally, I've got to give it over to Wonder Woman. The only reason I'm not putting it higher is because the other two I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, Wonder Woman, definitely a nice little uptake, and I think it kind of gave the spark to light a fire underneath DC's ass for this new DC coming in. Because it's not like Man of Steel bombed. It's not like Batman and Superman did horrible. I mean, they didn't do as good as wanted, but it's not like they were shit movies. I enjoyed them, you know. But it's just the fact of that with Wonder Woman, it showed, you know, a new face, and kind of like what we talked about with the Ghostbusters earlier. People are jumping on the train with these, you know, female lead actresses, and in the lead role of a movie, not just like a supporting lead role.
No, I mean, I agree with you.
And I don't mind it. I like it. I think it's a good change of pace for some movies, and to show Gal Gadot in a, you know, a position of strength, not the damsel in distress, not the little crying girl or the emotional heartbreak.
She showed that she can, you know, lace up a pair of boots and kick anybody's ass.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, definitely is Wonder Woman.
That's, you know,
what
you need.
But I mean, it's kind of going back to like if you remember Xenon, the Warrior Princess. I didn't want to fuck with her.
Or you can even say some of it started in the early '90s. I mean, I know this is a different kind of entertainment, but you could go back to China.
Yeah.
Getting in the ring with professional men and wrestling.
Yeah.
So,
and kicking their ass.
Yeah. So, I mean, if she can go in there and bench press just as much as Steve Austin, then fuck, she put a light on her.
No joke. But
that's another talk for another time. My number 3, I'm just going to say it because we're going to cover it, is Batman from 1989.
Yeah.
Directed by Tim Burton. That's my number 3. If you want to jump into your number 2.
Number 2, honestly, I'm kind of taking your honorable mention, but Suicide Squad. I'm not saying it's the best, but in my personal opinion, I loved it. I thought it was awesome getting to meet all those new characters, as well as kind of getting a lead role from Margot Robbie with Harley Quinn. Maybe not the strongest character ever, but she did do a damn good job. I thought that Will Smith coming in as Deadshot was awesome, and I loved that character now. I thought he was a kick-ass character. The Croc was alright, kind of over whatever, but, you know, I mean, when you're introducing new characters, some you'll love, some you'll hate. But yeah, I definitely think that Suicide Squad 2 is going to be a nice little return to that movie. So I'm looking forward to it when it comes out. Simple.
My number 2, to me, as of now, is the greatest animated superhero movie of all time to me, and that's Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Okay.
I recently watched it on Blu-ray this past week. Blew me out of the water like if I had just watched it for the first time. It's dark, it's gritty, it's everything you want in a Batman movie. You know, the voice of the animated Batman has always been Kevin Conroy.
Yeah.
Everybody, he's the voice of Batman.
Now, who was the voice of Joker? Cause
Mark Hamill.
It was okay. I was about to say a lot of people don't realize that the voice of Joker usually is Mark Hamill.
Yeah, he was the voice of the Joker in the animated series
for a while.
In all the animated movies, even in the PlayStation Batman games.
Yeah.
He was the voice of the Joker as well.
Which I love because not many people truly know that, especially if you don't pay attention. Like, it's crazy. I think it's cool.
Batman: Mask of the Phantasm still lives up to this day. I really think that if I can't remember, but man, it's so good. It's really, really high on my rankings. Not just as a animated movie, but to me, this is one of the best Batman movies you'll ever sit down and watch.
There you go.
So, your number 1?
Number 1, I mean, is probably a usual in a lot, but The Dark Knight Rises, the one with the Joker.
It's The Dark Knight.
Or, I'm sorry, The Dark Knight. I get the two confused a little bit here and there.
If that's your number one, we'll just do this together, because
okay.
that's my number one. I mean, man, that's one of the movies that we should probably
one day.
I would like to cover. It's last year was its 10-year anniversary.
Oh, damn! Already
10-year anniversary.
It doesn't seem like that long ago, because I mean, honestly, we lost a great actor, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I've seen several other movies of his. Heath Ledger. It's kind of hard to actually say how into the character he went, because don't get me wrong, it was a bit creepy sometimes, and I mean, the guy seemed like a nice guy.
It was dark, and I kind of wish that he, was on edge and didn't die the way he died, because he was lined up to be in The Dark Knight Rises.
Uh-huh.
He was gonna live on.
Fantastic.
That's why he didn't die at the end of The Dark Knight.
Right.
So, I mean, he was gonna live on. He was gonna be a villain in the third and final Christopher Nolan Batman movie, along with
Bane and Tom
Hardy and Bane. But man, if you want to write, like I said with my number 5, The Dark Knight Rises, The Dark Knight is not only a great superhero movie, but it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever played a superhero or super villain in a superhero movie and gotten nominated for an Oscar. Heath Ledger not only got nominated for an Oscar in 2008, but he won Best Supporting Actor for.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was kind of cool to get to see the Joker Heath Ledger as the Joker do so many different variations of himself. Just because, when him and Christian Bale, Batman, are going head to head, and when Christian Bale gets on the bat bike or the motorbike or whatever you want to call it, Joker is standing there, come on, and it's like, oh god, you know what I mean? You could feel the tension. I mean, as a wrestling term, you could cut the tension with a knife, so with that said, it's just no surprise I think he should have even won that without the passing of him, for that matter. But I
think he would have. There was a lot of good nominees in 2008, but no, he deserved it. He won.
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever going to be another Batman movie like that one.
No, well, not with that kind of a feeling of chemistry, because Christian Bale and Heath Ledger had so much damn good chemistry, and it's going to be hard to even come close to that. So that rounds out our top 5. Simple,
man. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of our show. We're going to break down and talk about Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. You can really say we're in the dawning of superhero movies right now. You have movies like Avengers getting $1 billion, Aquaman is getting $1 billion. I mean, it seems like these superhero movies is what everybody's waiting for, but I mean,
on top of that, you've got to be frank. We are in the golden age of Spider-Man. And I would say Superman or Batman, but I mean, Batman's been around since 1939, been played since, I think, early 50s, 52, 53 or something like that. So, I mean, there's been a lot of that. Superman, I think, has been played since, 1972 or something, somewhere around there. And even Captain America was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I think Iron Man, Hulk as well with Lou Ferrigno.
So, one of the small segments that we did last week, which we will touch bases on this week, because if it's an older movie, last week we compared the old trailer to the new trailer.
Yeah.
Or to a modern day trailer.
Of the same.
And the movie we're covering today is Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah. So honestly, Tim Burton does good live action or even animated, for that matter.
So what we're going to do is we are going to let you listen to the classic 1989 trailer for Batman.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Nice outfit.
You look fat.
I didn't ask. I have given a name to my pain.
What are you?
I'm Batman. Get those wonderful toys.
My life is really complex.
Winged freak terrorizes. Wait till they get a load of me.
So not as a bad of trailer as the original Star Wars was.
No, but I mean, you know, it's what I guess what 17 years difference makes.
Yeah, no
of
kidding.
technology updates and all that. I mean, '89 I think was even the start of the internet. Around that time, it was very rudimentary and.
So now here is
but
a
still.
modern trailer tease of Batman from 1989.
Taxi! We never got a cab. Let's cut over to 7.
7 is that way.
I know where we are.
American Express card. You can only home without it. I'm Batman.
Lieutenant, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City?
Dickie Dale.
Bruce Wayne.
And what do you do for a living?
The words Gotham City are synonymous with crime. The source of this corruption.
You can call me Joker.
6 new deaths, with no clues as to the Joker's deadly weapon.
Find out what this madman is poisoning us with and fast.
We're working on it. I need all the help I can get. Police have got it wrong. The Joker's tainted hundreds of chemicals at the source.
A lot of people think you're as dangerous as the Joker.
He's psychotic.
Some people say the same thing about you.
Mr. Dent, Mr. Dent.
All of Gotham is wondering what to make of Batman. Friend? Foe?
I have given a name to my pain. It's Batman.
This person murdered Nana.
I tried to avoid all this, but I can't.
I just gotta know we're gonna try to love each other.
Ever dance with the devil in the pale?
Man, that trailer gave me goosebumps. That was a really good put together trailer.
Never danced with the devil in the pale moonlight.
So I mean, if we're going back and doing those, man. But I want to ask you something. Did you notice in that trailer, in the first 1989 official trailer, the starring actor was Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, I was about to say that's what that is. Yeah, Jack Nicholson was first. Michael
After
Keaton was
that,
second, yeah.
every Batman movie had the man who played Bruce Wayne as the lead role.
Right.
Going back at it, we did a little bit of homework, and Jack Nicholson was really the only choice
That
to
was
be the
solid.
Joker.
Yeah. No, not well. He was, but
He was the first choice.
Right, but he declined at first.
Right.
But the main reason that he came in was they were going to have Robin Williams play him. Robin Williams actually said yes, and they kind of baited Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson then actually said yes to it, and they said if he doesn't, then they're going to have Robin Williams do it. Jack Nicholson said yes. Robin Williams kind of got pissed about it and was like, I'm not doing another Warner Brothers film until y'all apologize. Yeah. And eventually the studio did. Eventually. But I think in 95...
I think they went with the better choice. I think if you would have had Robin Williams do this, I think it would have been a little bit more... Maybe a little bit of a cheesier kind of Joker. Yeah. Maybe animated kind of.
Possibly.
But to me, even now, you can sit and talk about what makes Jack Nicholson better than Heath Ledger, or what makes Heath Ledger better than Jack Nicholson.
Well, honestly, I think they portrayed two different psyches.
Well, they're two different styles.
Right. Exactly. Because, I mean, Heath Ledger kind of got the more realistic, psycho, doesn't give a shit about what he's doing.
He was mysterious, and I think since they didn't give a backstory on the Joker, that's what made it more real.
Right, and I mean, to where Jack Nicholson, you could see, had kind of a plan.
Right.
I mean, honestly, with
Jack Nicholson's jokester was more of a gangster who, turned into a psychopath.
Because, I mean, honestly, even to put it into using a line from The Dark Knight Rises, Heath Ledger's character, the Joker, actually said, "Do I look like a man with a plan?" He said, "I'm just a rabid dog chasing a car. I don't know which way I'm going, but I'm going that way."
Right. So with this Batman, man, it starts out so iconic.
Yeah.
The way Gotham City is shot, the way everything was, it made it seem like it was a 1940s gangster flick at first.
A bit, yeah, definitely, because when he was going against Grisham and all that, you could see with Grisham's wife going up to Jack, or the Joker, Jack Napier or the Joker, you could see there was already turmoil within the higher rankings of that specific gang, to where, eventually everybody knew Jack Napier, the Joker, was going to win out. Something bad was going to happen to Grissom and even possibly to the wife. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, when you throw yourself into the fire, you will get burned. And unfortunately, the fire turned out to be the Joker. So, it definitely, like you say, did have the gangster type feel to it, especially at the beginning.
Yeah. Let's talk about this movie a little bit. Since we're in the golden age of superhero movies now, would this be the movie that started it all for the superhero movies, for the big major box office superhero movies? I mean, because before this you had the Batman 1996 or 1966 film
with Adam West.
You had Adam West. Burt Young as the Robin. Cesar Romero played the Joker.
Yeah.
And then
you kind of got to look at that as a classic one because, just with Cesar Romero playing the Joker how he did, and the costume and the makeup and all that, and you could see they were more of a homemade looking costume at the time because there was probably a seamstress on set that actually made all the costumes back then.
Right. I mean, and they still,
because you couldn't just go and buy it.
Well, they still do that on movies today. They have a seamstress,
Well, yeah, but I mean, you couldn't just go and buy, a possibility like a Batman costume at that time. Back in the 60s, back in 66.
And then in the 70s, you had Superman, Superman 2, 3, 4, all those Richard Donner Superman movies with Christopher Reeves playing Superman, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. So, those made money, but nowhere near the amount of money that Batman did in 1989.
Because, I mean, I think, back in the 60s, didn't they even have some of the actual kapow, bam,
right?
You know what I mean?
So, but what I'm trying to get to is this the first superhero? Is this one that started it all as far as breaking the box office records with superhero movies?
Well, I mean, honestly, since that year, it was the highest domestic, at least, and the second worldwide. I would say yes.
So, I mean, after Batman had such huge success in 1989. They had Tim Burton go ahead and come in and do Batman Returns in 1992. He was going to do Batman Forever in 1995. Right. Didn't get it done. Brought in Joel Schumacher to do the 1995 Batman. Val Kilmer played Batman. Still made a shit ton of money at the box office.
Oh, yeah.
Was a little bit cheesier.
Yeah. Truthfully, I think the main point about that one I didn't like was probably Arnold Schwarzenegger's...
that was in 97 with Batman and Robin.
Right, but I mean that's probably the main villain that I've not really liked, just because how puntastic he was.
Well, yeah.
Which, I mean,
I will still sit down and try to rewatch Batman and Robin every time because it's still a Batman movie. I mean, the budget was fucking humongous. It was huge.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't live. It's not very good.
It doesn't live up to those first.
And honestly, it was almost the Batman movie that killed the film franchise. They didn't. Warner Brothers was done with it. They didn't want to reboot it. They didn't want to touch it. They didn't want to do anything to it. And then there was some talk in 2002 about doing a Batman movie with John Travolta as the Scarecrow. Kurt Russell was going to play Bruce Wayne. They scrapped it. It didn't go through.
Okay.
And then in 2005, you got Christopher Nolan on board to do Batman Begins. So, I mean, really, and in between those times, you had Blade, you had Daredevil, Ghost Rider.
Truthfully, I think Daredevil was a bit underappreciated.
Yeah, I do too. You have the Fantastic Four. And then, Fox puts its money in the bank and they come out with this film called X-Men.
Yeah.
And man, X-Men blew everybody out of the water.
2000, I think, was the first one.
And then 2000, I think it was 01 or 02, here comes Spider-Man with Sony.
I want to think it's 01,
so,
because I know the second one was in 03.
So, those two opened the door for the next generation of superhero movies. So, Tim Burton, and man, we did more homework on Batman than we have any other, probably Star Wars and Batman together.
Yeah. For a while.
It took him so long to get Batman off the ground.
Yeah, which is surprising. It is and it's
because,
not.
I know Warner Brothers was, at first they didn't have Warner Brothers behind it. They had a hard time for somebody to pick up the script.
Until basically they got Jack Nicholson, and then they kind of were like,
they didn't even. Tim Burton. This was really one of his first movies. He was really an unknown young director.
Yeah,
they
weren't fully sure about his chops yet.
He had done Frankenweenie short at Warner Brothers. They know him for that, and then he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Because it's kind of like back in the day with George Lucas, THX 1138, and then American Graffiti.
And then he did Beetlejuice in 1988. Mm-hmm. And that's where he found his Batman.
Yeah.
He went back to his friends, his cast.
Yeah.
And he casted Michael Keaton as Batman, which really got scrutinized.
Yeah, because everybody thought he was basically just only a comedic actor.
Like, oh look, we got Mr. Mom as Batman.
Okay, let's see how much this bombs.
Yeah.
Which it did bomb, but in the opposite direction of what everybody thought. So sometimes the unobvious choice is the best choice. Because, honestly, okay, I'll go with Batman Begins. Christian Bale, I've got to say, it wasn't because of Christian Bale that I loved the Batman Begins, but, truthfully, I liked how they explained everything and how all this normal crap had its extreme uses if you used it differently.
Well, they went back and they kind of... Christopher Nolan, if you're familiar with the Batman Year One and the Batman Year One animated movie... that's kind of what he got his Batman Begins from. And, it was a tremendous film. I still say the Nolan Batman movies they're just good movies.
Yeah, and honestly, I appreciate it because, you've got Lucius Fox played by Morgan Freeman that kind of directed in a way, knew what kind of was going on after he heard about the Batman character, but kept his mouth shut, wasn't his business, he played it real. But, going on with this, like you said, it was the first big, first Crusader in a way.
It kicked down the doors.
Yes.
So, that's what we're trying to get to. And then what sticks out to you most about this film? Is it the cast? Is it Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne? Is it the bat suit?
To me, I'd say... Is
it Jack Nicholson playing the Joker? This movie was really innovative for its time.
Yeah.
In 1989, this movie is just... It blew everything away.
To me, I think the Batman himself as the character, along with all of his gadgets, suits, and vehicles, basically, sorry about that. At first, he was very theatrical. it was very crazy because, you know, when he got shot twice or 3 times, I think, in one of the opening scenes of the first appearance of Batman, you know, what he gets up and raises his cape. And it irritated me a little bit, but it's kind of a funny thing.
Maybe it's like a dog, you know, lifting up its lip or when he's growling at
show
you.
his teeth. Yeah,
maybe that's like a show of like intimidation.
Well, I mean, a lot of it has to deal with some of the documentaries we watched on the character development and character design in the beginning. You know, you've got to go back to that because what was it that Bob Kane, I think, said he drew inspiration with it from people trying to fly with. Oh crud! I forget exactly what it was called, but he drew inspiration from that, and that's kind of how he actually drew the character when Batman would glide through the air to make everybody think he's flying. Or, you know, Batman was a really deceptive character, and he was a very ingenious.
Right.
You know, he was very smart and brilliant, but you know, apparently, as Batman's become known, the best detective in the world. You know, even better than Sherlock for that matter. You know, but. Basically, the guy's genius, but very ingenious at the same time because he just comes up with concepts and different things that you don't expect. And, you know, you're going to look up and think, oh my god, there's a 6-foot bat flying around, to where it's just a 6-foot man in a costume that has abilities that he has learned to incorporate in and applies them correctly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one thing that stood out about me about Michael Keaton playing, I know some of the scenes were a body double or a stunt double, if you will, in the Batman suit, of course, just because with a star like Michael Keaton, you're not going to want to throw him into every situation and get him hurt. Same with like Christian Bale, even though I know he did some of his stunts. But, you know, with that being said, you know, you've seen the difference between Michael Keaton playing Bruce Wayne, kind of the nonchalant billionaire that kind of, I don't know if you could say has kind of an airhead quality about him. He's smart, but he's sarcastic, and he just kind of, whatever, I guess, you know, kind of, you know, because one scene that stood out with me to kind of illustrate the habits, I guess you'd say, of Bruce Wayne was when Alfred had to direct him in the party from going one way. Oh no, I think you should go this way. You know, it kind of was like, damn, does this dude know his own asshole from his elbow? To where with Batman, it was just like, you know, one scene that stood out for me with him was the big fight with the gang in I don't know where the industrial warehouse was, but when he just stood in front of a wall and just backhanded the shit out of that one guy and didn't even look at him.
I have this clip right here. We're gonna play this little clip for you. What is this character to Batman, Michael Keaton? I'll let you listen in on this little clip here.
What is this character really about? In Batman's case, young Bruce Wayne sees his parents killed in a random street mugging. Well, it's a perfect origin. You say that and you understand what motivates the character.
It's about a boy who loses his parents and can never overcome the grief for that. I think that's his story, and that's a theme, and that's a heartbreak that can resonate with anybody in any time.
He's a bit of a tiger for us. He's you know, the worst thing they ever did on that old TV show was give him a badge. You don't deputize Batman.
Batman, to me, is a still character. He looks good when he's kind of like monolithic and motionless sometimes, just this shadow, and then he's gone.
It's that flamboyant superhero look, but he is not superhuman. So what he does is all the more impressive because he has to work with what limitations come with humanity.
At least with Batman, there is an element of using intelligence to overcome obstacles, which I really liked.
Batman's the real identity. Batman is the child whose parents were killed. Batman is the orphan. Batman is the one who's trying to solve the problem of evil in the world. Bruce Wayne is the secret identity. Bruce Wayne is who he is, but it's just a shell. Bruce Wayne is just passing time until Batman can take over and Batman can be who he is.
like that, actually. Because, I mean, honestly, going back to Batman Begins, you know, it showed him training under Ra's al Ghul to become basically like a ninja. And that kind of makes you understand how he can do what he does, you know, be there 1 second and just vanish into thin air the next. It's kind of a cool concept and cool ability to do so, but you understand he is still just a human being, a man nonetheless. A man that has a shit ton of resources and abilities, and, you know, I mean, one thing that actually would stick out if a person really would actually take the time to try and do the closest thing to a Batman in these days, because let's face it, Batman is one of the ones who could be a true superhero in nowadays and times. I mean, if you were smart enough, agile enough, young enough, and strong enough, you could, and skilled enough, I should say, not even young, but skilled enough. Krav Maga is actually a discipline in the martial arts to where you take on 3 or more people with or without weapons, and I mean, it is proven to be used significantly in attacks. You know, to where, I mean, I think a person like a real life Batman would have to be kind of like a I mean, I know he's on screen portrayed as kind of an indestructible guy, but Michael Jai White.
Oh yeah,
you know,
he's I would like to see him in a modern superhero movie right now.
Definitely. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he is one of those types of guys that can not only do it on screen, he can do it in real life. I mean, he may not be as badass in real life as in some of the films, but I still wouldn't want to ever mess with Michael Jai White. You know, to where, like, Scott Adkins, if you know who that is.
Oh yeah, from the Ninja 2.
And then he also played the stunt double for Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool back
He's also
you know.
he's also in a movie called American Assassin.
Yes.
With Michael Keaton.
Yeah. So hey, goes the round circle for that. But he actually he was in the film with Michael Jai White, Unbroken, or Unbroken. So there's a lot of different aspects to where, you know, you could have different guys like that are true martial artists that can do some of the things Batman can.
And yeah, I mean that's what's bringing me into this next, you know, question, or if you will, about this movie, is Michael Keaton was a smaller guy.
Yeah,
he's one of the smaller, thinner Bruce Waynes.
Yeah,
but man, he was in a few scenes with that bat suit, and really with that bat suit, man. This is the first bat suit that you see that's all black.
Yeah,
it's dark, gritty. I mean, in the '60s they were gray, blue.
They were trying to stay true to the comic look,
right? But this one, it's all black. He's got the gold belt. He's got the bat with the yellow behind it, the symbol, and the crown that he wears is just is fucking amazing in this movie.
And I mean, the one thing that stands out to you about the costume is that it kind of made a play in the Batman Begins. I'd like to turn my neck to see when I reverse out of the drive.
That was in The Dark Knight.
Oh, that was in The Dark Knight. That's right.
In Batman Begins, he can't move his neck.
That's right.
But in The Dark Knight is where he can. They modified the suit to where he can turn his head however he wants.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, you know, in this one, the
it's the
actual
same thing.
Yeah, it was. But it was, instead of being part of the suit, it was the cape attached to the mask. And
the crown, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's
exactly like what you said. And so I think, like, it was a 3-piece suit basically,
pretty
or
much
something like that. And I mean, that was very cool.
And then I saw in the documentary that the shoes, they were kick pads with New Balances as the shoes.
That's pretty
cool. So black New Balances.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, honestly, all the stuff they went through to put this movie together and put, you know, even the Batmobile together.
That's what I want to talk about right now. It took 1 hour and 7 minutes into the film until we saw the Batmobile.
Yeah, which you see a few of his vehicles in this movie.
But I'm kind of dumbfounded how Vicky Vale. I want to know, like, how they decided to write that line for her, because he saves her from the Joker and his gang. He jumps out of the library or the restaurant, the art gallery.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Get in the car." You see all these cars out here. You see the big old black motherfucking car, and she says, Which one? It's the fucking black car lady.
To be fair, I mean, if that had happened to you and you were in front of a guy in a freaking bat costume that was beating the shit out of all kinds of gangsters, getting shot at and stabbed and all that, and it didn't affect him, and, you know, you're this...
He's going to be in that yellow Prius right over there.
That's
in the Prius.
You'd be kind of adrenaline surging, and you'd kind of be unaware to a lot of your surroundings. So maybe she just didn't see.
It was too black.
It was exactly. Maybe it was just too hidden. Like it was too damn good of a car. But I mean,
what did you think about the way? Because one of the things now that's cool about Batman is you got to have a cool Batmobile.
Well, I mean, back in the day, I think it was a Corvette that had a bunch of different parts on it and all that.
So, I mean, that was the only Batmobile to compare to this one.
Yeah.
So when you see this one compared to all the ones we'll see in the future, in the 90s, I mean, the tank like he had in Batman vs. Superman, or the tank like that he had in... it's almost kind of a similar car in Batman in the Christopher Nolan series. How do you feel about this one?
I honestly think this is the iconic image. Because, I mean, yeah, you can argue with, you know, people about the Corvette-like one. You can argue about I think it was called the Rock Crawler or something like that, in Christopher Nolan and Batman vs. Superman ones. But this is the iconic one. This is the one that stands out because, you know, you don't see another vehicle quite like this in anywhere else.
And I mean, it was in 2 Batman movies,
right? But I mean, other than those 2, other than a Batman movie, you wouldn't see Superman rolling into this thing. You wouldn't see Robin having his own one. You'd see Robin in the freaking Batwing, you know, but you wouldn't see him in the Batmobile. Batman was really protective of that damn car. I mean, he had all kinds of shields on the damn thing, for Christ's sake, you know. So, and security systems out the ass.
Yeah. If I had to choose, this one would probably be my favorite Batmobile of all
Definitely.
time.
Honestly, I'd rank the tank or Rock Crawler or whatever underneath
I do.
Because I found it cool.
Don't get me wrong.
But, you know.
With how cheesy the film kind of was, I do enjoy Batman Forever's Batmobile.
Right.
With the 2 split wings in the back and the blue lights in the middle.
Oh yeah,
I do like that Batmobile.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, if we had to do a impromptu top 5 Batmobiles, I mean, I would
be sitting as the crown ruler.
Yeah, I would do the one that was in Batman and Robin as 1, and then probably, like you said, the Nolan one as 2.
I mean, honestly, yeah, that's the way. Because, you know, I'm kind of a car person, but I mean, when we watched the documentary on what the hell they did to make this car a reality, I mean, Honda Civic front headlights, and, you know, they went through many lights, let alone any other part of this vehicle, for that matter. So to have that kind of in-depth thought about different parts of this car are amazing. And for, you know, the fabrication team to come up with all kinds of ways to put this car together, and for it to actually be functional, even if it's just driving in a 20-foot straight line, is amazing. You know, it stands out for a lot of guys who can work with their hands and make shit happen.
So also one thing that stands out about this movie, and it's something that we've talked about in a lot of movies past, is the soundtrack.
Oh man. When you have a high-profile name like Prince, and I mean, you just say one name and you know exactly what Prince Ahmad or Prince Edward or Prince, you know, no, Prince. You know, the only guy in this world that could probably wear makeup and freaking heels and get your girl before you can. Like, son of a bitch.
Prince did the soundtrack to this. Also, Tim Burton had his composer Danny Elfman, who does all the Tim Burton movies, composed the soundtrack to this Batman. And man, both soundtracks, the score with Danny Elfman and the original motion picture soundtrack with Prince, good music throughout this whole movie.
Yeah, and I mean,
actually, I would like to thank Danny Elfman, and you know, we use the original Batman as our opening every week, and I mean, it's really
an iconic song.
Yeah.
A lot of things from that film actually stood out and are still standing out today, you know, and it's crazy because you don't see a ton of films that have been remade have one of the originals still stand out. I mean, no, it wasn't the original Batman, but it was the one that kind of brought it on the scene, you know. So, I mean, like, Christopher Reeve's suit compared to the current Superman suit. Personally, I think the current Superman suit's better just because it actually, you know...
Right, it looks, it's updated.
Right, to where, you know, if they brought
but
back that one...
in 1978, that one, those pajama-looking motherfuckers were... those were tight, those were cool.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it stood out with Christopher Reeves, and, you know, I mean, unfortunately what happened to the guy. But, you know, with how he was able to portray that in that... Honestly, I would have felt way too self-conscious about that.
Right.
I don't care how well I was built or not built. That would have been just like...
And I mean, speaking of Batman suits now, and this one was the all-black rubber, gritty-looking one.
Yeah.
But if you go to Batman Returns, it's the same suit but slick.
Right.
With a brand new touch on it.
Yeah.
So...
Because, I mean, you've got, you know... What, when Batman, Robin, and Batgirl are in there... You've got basically silver jock straps on the outside of it.
And the Batsuit had nipples on it.
And Batwoman and Robin had them as well. So, I mean...
This podcast went downhill fast.
Oh, shut up. So, I mean, definitely some different choices in there. But, I mean, you know, when you went to the Batman Begins Batsuit, and it actually showed that they were buying, you know, different pieces.
Yeah, it looked homemade.
Right, and I mean, it didn't look like you could get it from anywhere else.
Right.
You know, and I think he said that the mask was carbonate.
Yeah, he was looking for a suit to go spelunking in.
Yeah. And I mean, you know...
And for our viewers listening, spelunking is
basically cave diving, rappelling and all that.
Or rock climbing.
Yeah, it's kind of an extreme thing that a lot of people go into caves to explore. And honestly, you know, into pyramids and different stuff like that. So... It's been a technique used to really invigorate history and findings.
So, I mean, everything about this film in general is just it kicked down the doors for what a superhero movie should... It's the blueprint of what a good superhero movie should be.
And it's been updated here and there from time to time, but I mean, you do that just because different directors put their different spins and all that.
And now, let's talk about the cast a little bit, man, because you have Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, Jack Nicholson.
Which, I mean, a lot of people argue Michael Keaton is their favorite Batman, or the best Batman.
I've heard that as well. Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, who wasn't even supposed to be in this movie.
Hey, she's supposed to be in it to me.
And then Pat Hingle is Commissioner Gordon, and he's actually Commissioner Gordon throughout the 4 motion picture Batman movies.
Oh, okay.
From 1989 to 97, he was the same. He played the same character in all 4 movies, despite the different writers and directors. The same thing with Michael Goff. He was Alfred in all 4 of those movies. Yep. So I think those are the only 2 actors that were in all 4 Batman movies.
Which is, it's a really cool thing to actually have that said, you know, so.
And then Billy D. Williams, who, if you don't know who that is, I mean, we talked about Star Wars last week. He's Lando Calrissian in The Empire Strikes Back and in Return of the Jedi. Well, he's Harvey Dent here in Batman 1989.
Known as...
He was going to be Two-Face in Batman Forever. As Tim Burton's... he was going to reprise his role as Harvey Dent, and he was going to be Two-Face in Batman Forever instead of Tom Lee Jones.
Yeah.
But Warner Brothers decided... I don't know how... I don't know what it was. I don't know if he didn't do Batman Forever because of... He was going to do Nightmare Before Christmas.
Right.
Or if Nightmare Before Christmas was before this. But anyway, Warner Brothers went a different direction. And Michael Keaton said, I will do it if Tim Burton goes and does it. Tim Burton didn't do it, so Michael Keaton didn't come back, so hence Val Kilmer. And actually, it's funny, Val Kilmer was going to come back and do Batman and Robin, but he had an offer from some little movie called Tombstone. And he ended up going and doing Tombstone, which was definitely the better choice for him. Bigger payday. And it was, I think it was nominated for some Oscars.
I actually talked about a payday. What's funny, Jack Nicholson is kind of the main guy in this movie. he actually took a percentage of the gross of this film and ended up coming out like a bandit with $60 million.
Oh, I bet.
Which at that time, I think fluctuation would probably be upwards of $150-180 million today.
He said it in the documentary. Like, he sat back and thought about it and realized that this movie is going to be huge.
Yeah.
So I better hurry up and sign up on it.
Which is kind of cool, and it shows how smart
he is. Smart.
He is. You know, and I mean, don't get me wrong, he's done, you know, Shining, The Departed. I mean, he's... if you don't know who the hell Jack Nicholson is...
You can debate maybe before this movie, Jack Nicholson was one of the top-tier pure actors in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar for
kind of like
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, he did The Shining. He was a purebred actor.
Kind of like a Leonardo DiCaprio.
He did Chinatown in the 70s, you know. He was a hot actor. He was winning some Oscars. And then, you know, Warner Brothers comes to him with this no-name director, you know, starring with this comedic guy in Michael Keaton. And they wanted him to be in this movie. And, I mean, he probably looked at it as if it was below him.
Are you serious?
You know?
Really? Yeah.
But, I mean, sit back and realizing that they didn't know how popular that this was going to be.
Right. I mean, they figured it probably would make some money, but they might not have thought they would even budget or get par with their budget for that.
Right.
matter.
But I mean, it blew up, and everybody around it blew up.
Because I mean, don't get me wrong, you know.
They even had Sam Hain wrote it. He wrote the story along with Bob Kane. Bob Kane helped out, which is the one of the co-creators of Batman.
Which is kind of crazy. I mean, he had it. Well, I mean, he didn't have his full stamp of approval on everything of this movie, but he had his stamp of approval on the finishing product, basically.
I mean, and it was nominated for Best Art Director or Best Art Direction Set Decoration at the 1990 Academy Awards, and it won the Oscar.
Damn.
So,
because I mean, actually, one thing that I was pointing out and I actually talked about at the beginning of the movie was how much it looked like that opening scene looked like a comic right out of a comic book.
Right.
But I mean, you could tell it was a real set, but you could also see it being drawn in by a damn good artist.
So I mean, now you can sit there and say Batman 1989 has. I mean, it's a smaller Academy Award, but it won an Oscar.
I mean, that's still a kick-ass Academy Award because that says a lot about the backgrounds and the sets.
Yeah. So far, some of these Batman movies have won Oscars. Jack Nicholson also got nominated for Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical as the Joker. So I mean, this movie just blew up all the way around. I mean. It got a Golden Globe nominee. It got an Academy Award. It won an Oscar. So I mean,
kind of strange to look back and think that it was considered a comedy/musical.
Yeah, I mean, but I can see
musical more than comedy, but still.
Man, what do you think Batman? What do you think this movie would have been like if Robin Williams, you know, just did it?
I mean, around that time, a little bit later in that time, he did like Flubber and
I have a feeling that Warner Brothers baited Jack Nicholson with Robin Williams.
Yeah, they did 100%. And that's what Robin Williams was actually pissed about, and I mean, understandably so. But you know, because I mean, don't get me wrong, he could have been the one coming out with $60 million or something like that. I mean, shit. But you know, with Robin Williams being
could have changed his entire career.
Yeah, definitely. To where he wasn't just, you know... I mean, Robin Williams had a damn good career anyways.
I'm wanting to say, I'm not sure, but they had... I still don't think they apologized to him, but I'm wanting to say...
I think they did I want to say like 94, 95.
Now that you say that, in 95, I'm wanting to say they went back to him and asked if he would be the Riddler.
Yes. They did.
So, I really think that they went back and tried to see if he would be the Riddler in Batman Forever.
And I think he turned them down with that.
Yeah.
And it went to Jim Carrey ultimately.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, which I think Jim Carrey did a good job with it. I think he was one of the better standout. Him and
Tommy Lee Jones,
who played Poison Ivy. I can't remember her name for the life of me.
Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
She was in Batman and Robin.
Right, but I mean, you know, as in some of those different actresses in different movies, who kind of, I think, stood out to me with the character they portrayed.
Yeah.
You know, because Jim Carrey, you almost didn't know if he was just a lighthearted, flamboyant character who just wanted fame, or if he was really a psychopath that wanted to kill everybody.
Yeah, but that's where I think that Two-Face should have been a lot darker than he really was.
Yeah.
Especially being played by Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We're talking about a movie that we probably won't ever cover. This might be the only time we'll probably talk about it.
Probably.
So, I mean, I think Tommy Lee Jones should have been a little bit more darker in that movie.
He probably should have, but I mean, maybe he had a different vision of it at the
I
time.
know a fun fact about that, though, that he used so much hairspray on the
God.
side of his Two-Face side,
Yeah.
that part of his hair was as hard as a football helmet.
That's nuts. Oof.
Yeah.
Don't headbutt him.
That's probably what made his face look that color.
Possibly. Which, I mean, I think he did good, because I think he just did more of a comic look.
I want to talk about an actor that is in this movie that doesn't get mentioned a lot.
Right.
And that's Jack Palance. I was really surprised that he wasn't talked about as much in any of these documentaries. He's a famous Western actor, done all types of movies. He's best known for his movies in City Slickers as Curly.
Yep.
He was Shane. He was in Shane, the famous 1953 Western. He was in Tango and Cash with Kurt Russell and Sylvester Stallone. He's just one of those all-time famous old-school actors. Up there with, I would say,
like
Clint
Eastwood, John Wayne, maybe.
But I'm really surprised he wasn't as mentioned as much as he should have been probably in the documentaries. Jack Palance plays Grissom in this Batman movie, and Grissom is really the head honcho. He's the godfather, if you will,
basically,
with all these other gangsters around him. His right-hand man, Jack Nicholson,
Jack Napier,
the
Joker,
kind of screws him over and becomes the Joker by accident, kills Grissom, and all the other guys become now Joker heads, if you will.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to touch on that and touch bases with that actor because I think it's really he's a really tremendous actor. And then Tracy Walter, I want to touch on him a little bit too. He plays Bob the Goon, which turns into be Joker's right-hand man.
Right.
Does everything for him, and then at the end of the movie, man, he just fucking kills him dead because he fucked up.
Yep. Which it just.
But I like that because I think that was really well written. The way they wrote that character, Bob the Goon, as Joker's right-hand man. You at first you're like, oh, is he going to be a big part of the movie? No, probably not. But they put him in the movie just enough for you to get familiar with him and to maybe have some kind of connection with that character. That way, when Joker just does away with him, you're like, what the fuck did he just do?
Which, I mean, it's just so nonchalantly like.
But that's tremendous writing.
The brilliance of it.
It's brilliant writing on their part.
But I mean, it was just kind of a nonchalant, like, he's just another henchman. Who gives a damn?
Right, and I mean, he's not a famous actor. wasn't in a lot of famous movies. I think this might be his famous role. He was a librarian in Philadelphia. He was in Repo Man. He played Malik in Conan the Destroyer. So he wasn't in a lot of movies. Actually, his recent movie is funny. Is Lucky Leo, which is one of the murdering clowns in 31, Rob Zombie movie, if you've seen it. Pretty fucking gross movie. But yeah, I wanted to touch bases with Bob the Goon, played by Tracy Walter. I just liked how they spent some time, putting that character.
It's like some quality time with your weird uncle, basically.
But yeah, man, I had no issues with the cast. I thought it was a tremendous cast and a even more tremendous, what would you call it?
I mean, the score was
The score, yes.
Tremendous and brilliant for that matter, because it even stands the test of time to now, you know. But because I mean, anytime you hear that, it just sends you out.
So
although Jack Nicholson's dancing during this song during the parade was a little bit kind of esque in my favor. I can't dance, so yeah.
We would just like to say that this show is brought to you by Rockstar. Rockstar has over 21 flavors in over 30 countries. It is an active energy drink for those of you who live active lifestyles. They've been with us since November the 1st, since the Indiana Jones episode. We want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
They have all different kinds of flavors: sugar-free, organic cherry, organic green apple. You talked me into the Killer Grape, and that's now the only kind I get when I go get a Rockstar.
It's kind of crazy, because I usually go for the grape or the original, for that matter. Those are the two that I'm most familiar with and like the most, basically.
And I think the Joker would probably go for the Killer Grape as well.
I mean, obviously with all the purple he wears, you know, so pretty cool stuff to talk about. Plus, I think Prince would have gone with that too. I mean,
that's
honestly.
true. Now, as we wind this episode down, get ready for next week's episode, the legacy of Tim Burton with this movie.
Yeah.
We touched on it. We talked about it when we were watching the movie. It has Tim Burton's signature on it. It's got his juices in the movie, if you will. I don't know. We've all grown up on Tim Burton movies.
Yeah.
He produced James and the Giant Peach.
Oh yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Everybody knows.
Frankenweenie.
I mean, Beetlejuice.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Batman Returns. Edward Scissorhands, which is a movie that I would honestly love to cover this year.
Is that a play on my name or something?
I would like to.
Well, fuck it. I would too, honestly. I like it. It's a demented little dark tragedy.
Right.
Of a film. I love that.
It's a beautiful
tragedy.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has Romeo and Juliet-esque.
Romeo and Jessica.
Because at least that's what I kind of get off of it.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
Yes, sir.
But Tim Burton and this Batman legacy, what kind of legacy do you think Batman and Tim Burton will have? Do you think that this movie put Tim Burton on the map?
I think it definitely helped his career. I don't think this is his...
Because, I mean, before this, the biggest thing he did was Pee-wee's Big Adventure
Which, I
and
mean,
Beetlejuice.
in its own right, Beetlejuice definitely, in its own right, is a big movie for him still. I mean, there's still talks of, or want of a second one for that
But see,
matter.
Beetlejuice is one of those movies that was big then, but is huge now.
Yeah, cult following really grown.
But Batman was massive for him in the time,
and it's only grown.
So I mean,
but I mean, I think that is one of his probably top 3 or top 4, definitely. I don't think you could put like that, Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, or Nightmare Before Christmas really in a certain order. I mean, you've got your preferences, basically. That's the only way you put those 4 films in certain orders.
Warner Brothers after Batman was really good to Tim Burton. They did a lot of business together. They made a lot of money together.
Well, I mean, when you see a cash cow, you take care of that damn thing. You milk it and take care of it. You know.
And then he would go on and do movies like Alice in Wonderland. He didn't do the second one, I don't think. But so. I mean, as we're recording this, January 24th, man, we're a month and a half away from Tim Burton's Dumbo.
Yeah, which honestly,
starring Danny DeVito.
Looking forward to.
I think Michael Keaton's in it. I'm not sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. I haven't heard a lot of the casting choices personally, but honestly, I'm looking forward to that because Dumbo back then was a trippy ass film in, just cartoon way. A ton of different things to look over on. A horrible tragic story. Horribly tragic story.
Well, here's stars Colin Farrell, Michael Keaton, Alan Arkin, Danny DeVito. My God, I can't wait to see this.
So, who does Michael Keaton actually play?
He's going to play V.A. Van Vrier.
Okay.
Which I think he's the one that...
he's kind of like the ringleader.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that. But I mean, you've got a bunch of different, Disney films coming out in, I don't know, the next 5-10 years that are in real life structure or more realistic.
And then Eva Green is in it. So, man, directed by Tim Burton. I'm really interested to see this movie now. It comes to you in theaters March 29th.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to bomb. But I only have that feeling because Captain Marvel.
Right. And I mean,
why? And now that they're both Disney movies, why would Disney do that to one of its movies?
I don't know. I mean, honestly,
you could this movie could have came out this week, and probably would have been #1 at the box office for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, because
guarantee it.
Aquaman is kind of on its stale-ish run right now. It's kind of a stale fish right now.
Or you could put it week 1 of February.
Yeah,
and
easily.
let it run its 5-week course until Captain Marvel came out.
Yeah, kind of an appetizer to Captain Marvel.
Like, I don't know why Disney does this.
It'd be kind of like putting Star Wars against the Avengers in a way. Like,
well, they did that last year. That's why Solo probably bombed at the box office. Solo came out in June, I think, or May, and Avengers Infinity War was in April.
I think June.
So I really don't know why Disney does that to themselves.
Money.
Disney wants to blame maybe some of the writers, the directors, for it not making the money.
When they're just releasing at dumbass times.
Yes.
And it's just, I don't get it because they've got so much talent in their actual works.
Just like this December, there was no Star Wars movie.
Right.
And there was no Marvel movie.
Right.
So Disney could have released, I guarantee you, I almost stake my life on this. Disney could have released Solo this past December and waited, and it would have made twice as much money.
Right. Because, I mean, they've got, Star Wars Episode 9 coming out this December. They're not really releasing anything after Endgame other than Far From Home.
Right. Well, we forgot. I was going to mention this in movie news, but Disney has released that there might be 2 trailers for Star Wars Episode 9 during the Super Bowl.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
1 would be big, but 2 is huger.
Yeah. One of them should have the title name too.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Tune into the Super Bowl to see Tom Brady take on Jared Goff.
Yeah,
there's shit.
More people probably gonna be interested.
I'm surprised Disney doesn't have stocks in the NFL yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but
But I mean, I wish Disney would do that.
Musketeers out there.
But this year is going to be so big for Disney. They have Aladdin. They have Dumbo,
freaking
The Lion King.
The Lion King, Star Wars, just to name, 5? Freaking mixing it up with Sony to bring out Spider-Man Far From Home, Captain Marvel. That's just named, 6 right there? 6, 7? They've got a ton of money to look for. They're at least going to make a couple billion within March to June. At least. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely think that Captain Marvel is going to be a huge success. But then again, I do know that, Endgame is going to be even bigger. Probably the biggest one of this entire year. At least 10 months up until Star Wars. Because you've just got 2 huge franchises. One with a extremely long legacy in time, for that matter. And the other with a pretty big legacy in its own right for Avengers to come up and actually be bringing out new films, and this is going in phase 4, phase 5 now.
And then I think it's still technically a Fox movie, but they pushed Dark Phoenix back. Dark Phoenix was supposed to be February, so now that that's not released in February, Disney could have fucking put Dumbo in February.
Yeah.
Why?
Honestly, I don't think Dark Phoenix would have really competed a lot.
Well, now that it's in June, I think it will.
But I mean,
so I just, man, I don't know why Disney does that to some of their movies, because I have a feeling that Dumbo's going to get shit on.
Probably.
And I don't think that's fair to everybody who worked hard on Dumbo, because
no, not at all. But I mean, then again, you have the old timey Disney fans, because I think
that's true. I mean, you do have
the ones that aren't interested in Marvel or whatever.
But I mean, your average 14-year-old 70 years ago wanted to go see fucking Dumbo.
Yeah.
Your average 14-year-old now, I don't think so.
They want to go see freaking Thor and Tony Stark and
Because, man,
famous and all.
like 70 years ago was the 70th anniversary of Dumbo.
Yeah.
So it came out 70 years ago this year.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that actually brings to another one that's been out this long. That brings the 80 years this year of Batman. 30 years of Batman 1989 with Michael Keaton, but 80 years ago, 1939.
This is the 30th anniversary year of Tim Burton's Batman. Man, as we wrap up today's show, we have two more small things we're going to do about this movie. And what would be your favorite scene of this awesome Batman movie? I'll tell you mine if you want to think about it.
Go ahead.
My favorite scene in this movie...
Kind of hard to do.
My favorite scene is when they get into the museum, the art museum, and he trashes everything, and you got Prince playing in the background, and, you know, he lights the candle with a torch, and, man, Batman goes in there, crashes through the ceiling, and saves the day. That, to me, is my favorite scene throughout this whole movie.
I'd probably say the industrial factory fighting, you know,
where he falls into the sewer of acid.
Yeah.
It's a good scene too.
Just because, like, the choreography of that was pretty good. It was kind of funny. It was very rough. It was imaginable as a real kind of fight in a way, with a guy with a ton of abilities and skills. So, I mean, that probably would be mine. Specifically, probably when he punched the shit out of that guy without looking behind him. That was pretty cool. Pretty funny. Because he could have punched Commissioner Gordon in the face. I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Why not?
I'll probably be a little biased during this next little thing that we do, but your star rating for this movie, I'm going to give it a, as you say, strong 9 out of 10 stars.
Yeah.
I love Batman. I grew up with Batman. To me, he's my favorite superhero of all time. So this movie, to me, I'm giving it a 9 stars. IMDb gave it a 7.5 out of 10. So even they give it a high star rating. So, what would yours be?
I would probably have to go a little lower just because of how cheesy and how theatrical it was. I'd probably just go to an 8.5 strong. I mean, I'm not going to go too much lower just because I like the film. I think it's an iconic film. It stands the test of time. It is very cheesy. It is very balanced, though, as in Thanos says, balanced. I'd say probably my favorite superhero would be Wolverine. But, I mean, Batman has definitely been probably the lead in my love for DC superheroes. Just because, you know, you get a guy who, I mean, any guy could go out and do this if they were skilled enough, basically, smart enough, skilled enough,
right,
and had enough resources to do this. Looking at all you billionaires out there, come on now, get with the times, fuckers. It's been 80 years since one of you bastards have had the opportunity to do this. Come on now. But, I mean, I just think it's really cool. But yeah, 8.5 definitely would be my rating.
Go check out this movie. I've uploaded photos to the Facebook podcast, Cine-Men Movie Podcast, where you can check out what formation, what platform, what formation, what kind of product we watched it on. We watched the Batman Motion Picture Anthology Blu-ray version, which is, I mean, they only have one Blu-ray version out there, so, I mean, stands the test of time, looks great, sounded great. Highly recommend if you are a superhero fan, film collector. If you don't have this in your collection already, go check it out. So definitely go. I mean, it's worth a watch. If you don't want to buy it, I mean, you can rent it. It's I think it's on Hulu. If it's not on Hulu, man, DC has their DC universe now. I think it's $10 a month. All the DC movies are on there. They're also pushing out original TV series that'll be coming out in the near future. So, man, as we end up, we go ahead and put a bow on this week's episode. Don't forget, next week's episode will be The Bad Times at the El Royale.
I'm looking forward to that, honestly. I don't know much about the movie. I didn't want to. I'm wanting to come into it kind of fresh. You know, kind of a first watch for me again. But it is interesting. I know some of the stars. You know, of course, everybody knows Chris Hemsworth. So, yeah, I think that would be a really good introduction into the movie. But, you know, it's got a lot of star power. So it's either got the presence to...
So I mean, what are you most interested in seeing about this movie next week?
Plot, how everybody. So I mean, like I said, it's got the too much star power. So it's got either the presidents to fail or to do really good. Which I know you've already put your kind of stamp of approval on it. So I'm kind of excited about that because most of the movies that you've introduced me to, like Fences, that one blew me away. That was damn good. So I mean, if this one's anywhere near that one,
it's good. If you enjoy like Quentin Tarantino like movies, you'll enjoy this one. Stars Jeff Bridges,
right?
Chris Hemsworth. You'll hear this song in the movie. So we'll check it out next week. It's all about bad times at the El Royale. So man, enjoy this episode. Enjoy the movie. Batman. Always one of my favorites.
Yep.
But as far as next week, we will see you right here on the Cine-Men movie podcast as we cover Bad Times at the El Royale.
Edward signing out.
And this is Johnny, and we will talk to you guys next week.